Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 1 hour. India and Italy elevate ties to a special strategic partnership. Talks between Prime Ministers Narendra Modi and Giorgia Meloni deliver 15 outcomes in sectors like defence, critical minerals, maritime transport and ports. "33rd International Honour for Prime Minister Modi. The United Nations' Food and Agriculture Organization confers Agricola Medal for 2026 upon him for his efforts to improve farmers' welfare and boost food security. Donald Trump says it's good that President Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin have met in Beijing, even as the Chinese and Russian leaders jointly condemn the US President's Golden Dome missile defense shield plans. And Trump tells reporters he's in no hurry to bring the Iran conflict to an end after Tehran threatens war beyond the region if the US attacks again. Well, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Italy has opened a new chapter in India's global engagement. His meetings in Rome highlighted not only the strengthening of diplomatic and economic ties, but also the warmth of cultural exchange and friendship. From high-level talks to symbolic gestures at historic landmarks, the visit underscored a shared vision for deeper cooperation and a stronger partnership between the two nations. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni on Wednesday elevated India-Italy ties to a special strategic partnership, signaling a new phase in bilateral cooperation. The two leaders reviewed the Joint Action Plan 2025-2029 progress, aimed at expanding cooperation in trade, defense, clean energy, innovation, and emerging technologies. Both sides expressed commitment to rapidly scale bilateral trade beyond the €20 billion target by 2029. Prime Minister Modi highlighted that more than 800 Italian companies are actively contributing to India's growth story.
आज की बैठक में हमने हमारी भावी साझेदारी को और सशक्त बनाने के लिए विस्तृत रूप से चर्चा की। भारत इटली जॉइंट स्ट्रेटेजिक एक्शन प्लान 2025 to 2029 हमारी साझेदारी को एक प्रैक्टिकल और फ्यूचरिस्टिक ढांचा प्रदान करता है। हम इस पर समयबद्ध तरीके से आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। हमारे साझा प्रयासों में द्विपक्षीय व्यापार के 20 बिलियन यूरो के लक्ष्य की ओर तेजी से बढ़ रहा है। भारत में मौजूद 800 से अधिक इटालियन कंपनीज भारत की ग्रोथ स्टोरी में सक्रिय भागीदार बन रही है।
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni described the current phase as the apex of India-Italy ties, saying the partnership has reached its highest ever.
Questo vuoto, ma insieme decidiamo di rilanciare.
We have decided to revitalize our relations. This visit is the apex of a path that we have built together with determination to strengthen the ties between ourselves. We are further strengthening our relation all the way up to the special strategic partnership, the highest ever reached in the relations between our two nations. So I think it's safe to say that now Italy and India are closer than they have ever been. Our relations are now capable of expressing their fullest potential. It is also due to the over 7 meetings that I have had with Prime Minister Modi over the past 3.5 years, during which we have gotten to deeply know one another and our respective points of view. We have also created an honest friendship based on respect and mutual trust.
Prime Minister Modi began the day by meeting Italian President Sergio Mattarella at the historic Quirinal Palace in Rome, where he was accorded a ceremonial guard of honor. The leaders held cordial discussions focused on elevating India-Italy relations to a special strategic partnership. They emphasized deeper collaboration in trade, defense, clean energy, maritime security, and the ambitious India-Middle East-Europe economic corridor. Later, Prime Minister Modi received a ceremonial welcome from Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni at the historic Villa Doria Pamphili. The two leaders then held delegation-level talks with senior officials from both sides to deepen strategic and economic engagement. India and Italy exchanged several memoranda of understanding during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni at Villa Doria Pamphili. The pacts cover critical minerals, defense, industrial cooperation, maritime transport, ports, agriculture, higher education, research, and more. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi arrived in Italy on Tuesday night for the final leg of his five-nation tour of West Asia and Europe. Welcoming him to Rome, Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni shared a picture with Prime Minister Modi on social media, writing, "Welcome to Rome, my friend." The two leaders continued their talks over dinner. They exchanged perspectives on a wide range of issues ahead of their formal bilateral talks on Wednesday. The two prime ministers visited the iconic Colosseum in Rome. Nearly 2,000 years after it was built, the Colosseum remains the most recognizable symbol of Rome and one of the world's greatest architectural achievements. Earlier, Prime Minister Modi also received a warm welcome from the Indian diaspora in Rome. Members of the community gathered in large numbers, waving the Indian tricolour and showcasing India's rich cultural heritage through classical dance and traditional music performances. The vibrant reception reflected the strong people-to-people ties between India and Italy. Adding a cultural touch to the visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni participated in a tree-planting ceremony at the historic Villa Doria Pamphili on Wednesday. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
And Prime Minister Modi has been awarded the prestigious Agricola Medal 2026 by the Food and Agriculture Organization, which is the organization's highest honor, at a ceremony held at the FAO headquarters at Rome. FAO Director General Hu Dongyu presented the award in recognition of Prime Minister Modi's contribution to agricultural development, food security, poverty reduction and farmer welfare. The United Nations body praised India's large-scale food and agriculture initiatives under Modi's leadership, including financial inclusion programs, food support for 800 million people, direct income support to farmers, promotion of natural farming, and the global push for millets during the International Year of Millets. The organization also commended India's efforts to promote digital public infrastructure during its G20 presidency. Prime Minister Modi dedicated the Agricola Medal to India's farmers, saying it is not his personal honor, but a recognition of the nation's crores of annadatas.
यह केवल मेरा सम्मान नहीं है, यह भारत के करोड़ों किसानों, पशुपालकों, मत्स्य पालकों, कृषि वैज्ञानिकों और हमारे श्रमिकों का सम्मान है। यह भारत की उस अटूट प्रतिबद्धता का भी सम्मान है जिसके केंद्र में मानव कल्याण, खाद्य सुरक्षा और सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट है। मैं इस मेडल को अत्यंत विनम्रता के साथ स्वीकार करते हुए भारत के अन्नदाताओं को यह मेडल समर्पित करता हूं।
And Prime Minister Modi further said that the future of farming lies not in producing more, but in producing better. Emphasizing biodiversity, reduced chemical use and sustainability, he noted that India's experience shows scale and sustainability can go together.
फ्यूचर ऑफ फार्मिंग केवल प्रोड्यूस मोर में नहीं बल्कि प्रोड्यूस बेटर में है। इसी सोच के साथ बायोडायवर्सिटी बढ़ाने और केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर पर डिपेंडेंस कम करने पर बल दिया जा रहा है। भारत का अनुभव दुनिया को यह दिखा रहा है कि स्केल और सस्टेनेबिलिटी साथ साथ चल सकते हैं। टेक्नोलॉजी और इंक्लूजन एक दूसरे को स्ट्रेंथन कर सकते हैं और साइंस ड्रिवन एग्रीकल्चर ग्लोबल फूड सिक्योरिटी का मजबूत आधार बन सकता है।
And earlier, upon reaching the Food and Agriculture Organization headquarters in Rome on Wednesday, Prime Minister Modi met with the organization's DG, Dr. Ku Dongyu. He was greeted with a warm handshake there. Now, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Italy has given a major boost to bilateral ties, with India and Italy finalizing 15 outcomes across diverse sectors. The agreements have been signed after delegation-level talks between Prime Minister Modi and his Italian counterpart Giorgia Meloni in Rome on Wednesday. The outcomes have marked the elevation of bilateral relations to a special strategic partnership. Now, let's take a look at those 15 outcomes. Well, it's an elevation of India-Italy ties to a special strategic partnership, highlighting growing cooperation in various sectors including trade, technology, defense, clean energy and innovation between the two nations. The defense industrial roadmap between India and Italy will pave the way for co-development, co-production, enhancing defense cooperation and manufacturing ecosystem. India and Italy have exchanged an MOU on critical minerals, which will help streamline the cooperation and exploration in the field of critical minerals. An MOU for cooperation between Italian core of the Guardia di Finanza and a Directorate of Enforcement, which aims to curb tax crimes, money laundering and terror financing. There is also an agreement on collaboration for 2027 as the year of culture and tourism between India and Italy, which aims to promote cultural exchange and two-way tourism and will generate employment opportunities in the tourism sector. India and Italy have also agreed on cooperation on facilitation of mobility of nurses from India to Italy. This will help create employment opportunities for Indian nurses while boosting recognition of the quality of Indian workforce and improving cooperation in capacity building of healthcare providers. There is also an MOU for development of National Maritime Heritage Complex at Lothal in Gujarat, which encapsulates the spirit of Vikas Bhi, Virasat Bhi, that is, development with heritage. Now, this will contribute in preservation of Indian culture through modern-day expertise and will boost knowledge sharing for protection of shared cultural heritage. India and Italy also discussed the roadmap on higher education and research, which aims to promote research quality, institutional linkages and advanced learning ecosystems. It will further enable cooperation in capacity building of the youth and enhance employability. There is an MOU for cooperation in maritime transport and ports as well, which will strengthen India's maritime infrastructure and will generate employment opportunities in the sector. There is also an MOU on bilateral cooperation in agriculture, which will provide access to better technology, knowledge and skills to Indian farmers and will further promote sustainable farming techniques. There is also an MOU between the Marine Products Export Development Authority and the Association of Italian Seafood Companies, which will help promote India's export of marine products to Italy and enhance trade of India's marine product industries. An MOU for cooperation in the field of Ayurveda has also been exchanged. It will facilitate promotion of Indian Ayurvedic knowledge at the global stage and joint research through faculty and student exchanges. There is another MOU between IITM Pune and CMCC Italy to facilitate climate change and sustainability research. There is also a record for cooperation between Department of Science and Technology and Elettra Synchrotron Trieste in Italy. This will provide access to Indian researchers to the synchrotron radiation facility at Elettra, and it will boost research ecosystem. Another MOU is between Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology and the Abdus Salam International Center for Theoretical Physics in Italy, which aims to establish a structured framework for collaboration in high-quality research and capacity-building activities in the fields of weather, earth, climate sciences and mathematics. Yes, that they take a while to get through those 15 outcomes. Now, Prime Minister Modi's sweet gift for his Italian counterpart Giorgia Meloni during his Rome visit has once again brought to the fore his rapport with world leaders, be it with candid exchanges or special gestures. For years of trusted friendship, these moments often go beyond formal protocol and reflect India's growing global stature. DD India's Tripti Tripathi reports.
From global summits to candid personal moments, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's chemistry with world leaders has become a defining feature of India's modern diplomacy. Beyond formal meetings and policy discussions, these interactions reflect warmth, trust, and friendship built over years on the global stage. A recent moment in Rome once again caught the internet's attention as PM Modi shared a light-hearted exchange with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The video became an internet sensation in no time. The clip of Prime Minister Modi gifting Melody toffees to Prime Minister Meloni crossed 100 million views in just a few hours. PM Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron have shared a strong personal bond. From tea conservations in Jaipur to sharing a ride in Mumbai, there is a partnership that goes beyond protocol. PM Modi's rapport with Russian President Vladimir Putin is rooted in decades of strategic trust and personal warmth. In a rare diplomatic gesture, PM Modi personally received President Putin at the airport during his India visit in December 2025, underlining excellent personal relations between the two leaders. The same warmth and camaraderie is visible in India-UAE ties, where the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan often refers to PM Modi as his brother. Their friendship has elevated India-UAE relations to a key strategic partnership. In fact, UAE leaders often say that Emirate is second home for PM Modi.
इस आत्मीय स्वागत के लिए मैं आपका हृदय से बहुत आभार व्यक्त करता हूँ और जैसा आपने कहा मैं अपने दूसरे घर आया हूँ ये शब्द ये भाव मेरे जीवन की बहुत बड़ी पूंजी है.
The deep personal friendship between Indian Prime Minister and Israeli Prime Minister has become a defining pillar of Indian-Israel relations. During PM Modi's visit to Israel in February 2026, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, along with his wife, warmly welcomed PM Modi, calling him a good friend, a gesture reflecting the personal warmth between the two leaders. From Jordan's Crown Prince personally driving PM Modi in Amman to special gestures by leaders in Ethiopia and the Nordic nations, these moments reflect India's growing global stature and PM Modi's ability to build personal connections across culture and continents. From diplomacy to friendship, PM Modi's bonhomie with world leaders continues to add a human touch to international relations. Tripti Tripathi report for DD India.
And still to come on DD India Newshour. The World Health Organization says 139 suspected deaths from Ebola till now, and the numbers are expected to rise. The European Union agrees to implement its trade deal with the US, which had been hanging fire since last summer. And Samsung Electronics Workers Union says South Korea's strike is off until further notice.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's five-nation tour, UAE, the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway and Italy. Strengthening ties, shaping tomorrow, bridging borders, building bonds. PM Modi's mission, securing India's future and expanding its global footprint. From Abu Dhabi to The Hague, From Oslo to Rome. 5 nations, one vision. With exclusive reports from Ground Zero and live coverage, we ensure you don't miss a thing. Catch the latest updates of PM Modi's 5-nation tour. Only on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I am Gautam Roy. Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping signed a joint declaration on Wednesday focused on building a multipolar world, sending a defiant signal to the US just days after President Trump concluded a visit to Beijing without any major deals. They condemned US President Trump's nuclear policy and vowed to pursue an independent and sovereign foreign policy together. Here's more in this report.
Chinese President Xi Jinping welcomed Russian President Vladimir Putin with an honor guard and a gun salute at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. As children waved Chinese and Russian flags, Xi Jinping hailed ties with Russia as a force of calm amid chaos. The meeting with Russian President Putin in Beijing on Wednesday came days after Xi hosted US President Donald Trump for a landmark US-China summit. Putin said, "We'll expand our bilateral cooperation and actively engage in international forums where our teams are working closely together to build a strong foundation for a multipolar world." China and Russia condemned US President Donald Trump's Golden Dome missile defense shield plans and Washington's nuclear policy. In a joint statement, Russia and China said the parties believe that the US Golden Dome project, which aims to build an unlimited, multi-level, multi-sphere and global missile defense system to destroy all types of missiles, including all types of peer adversaries' missiles at all stages of their flight and before they are launched, poses an obvious threat to strategic stability. Putin said that Russia and China would pursue an independent and sovereign foreign policy together as he and President Jinping signed declarations of cooperation in Beijing. According to Russian media, Putin said, "Most important is that Russia and China are committed to an independent and sovereign foreign policy, are working together in close strategic cooperation and playing an important stabilizing role on the global stage." Putin told Xi Jinping that relations between their two countries have reached an unprecedentedly high level. However, Russia and China could not reach an agreement on the new multi-billion-dollar Power of Siberia 2 gas pipeline. China has shown less enthusiasm for the project, something Russia has hoped would change with the energy instability triggered by the Middle East war. Bureau Report, DD India.
The situation in West Asia remains in limbo despite an ongoing ceasefire and diplomatic efforts to end months of fighting. Iran's Revolutionary Guards are now warning that any renewed American attack could trigger a war extending far beyond the region. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has said that military action remains on the table if Tehran refuses to strike a deal, although there is now some movement which seems to suggest that a deal could be nigh, where oil prices have plunged again by about 5% and US bond yields have also declined. Let's get you more with this report.
Despite an ongoing ceasefire and diplomatic efforts to end months of conflict, tensions between US and Iran continue to rise. Iran issued its strongest warning yet on Wednesday, threatening to expand the conflict beyond the region if US launches new strikes. The warning came after US President Donald Trump revealed he was an hour away from ordering another military campaign against Iran before delaying the decision to allow more time for diplomacy. Trump also told reporters at the White House that Iran is begging to make a deal.
I was an hour away. We were all set to go. You're talking about yesterday.
Yes.
We were going to be striking it would have been happening right now. Yeah, it was all done. The boats, the ships are all loaded. They're loaded to the brim. And we were all set to start. I had made the decision. So they called up. They had heard I made the decision. They said, "Sir, could you give us a couple of more days? Because we think they're being reasonable.
The latest exchange highlights growing instability despite a ceasefire that halted major fighting in April after weeks of US-Israeli strikes on Iran and retaliatory attacks across the region. US Vice President J.D. Vance said negotiations are making good progress, but also warned that the US military remained locked and loaded.
We are not going to have a deal that allows the Iranians to have a nuclear weapon. So as the president just told me, we're locked and loaded. We don't want to go down that pathway, but the president is willing and able to go down that pathway if we have to.
Iranian officials, however, insist they are prepared for another confrontation. At the center of the standoff is the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical oil shipping routes. Iran has largely restricted passage through the strait since the conflict began, fueling global energy concerns and driving up oil prices worldwide. Shipping traffic has slowly resumed. The conflict is also spilling across the wider region. Israeli airstrikes destroyed buildings across Lebanon, while Jordan's military says it shot down a drone that entered its airspace Wednesday morning. The United Nations Security Council has condemned a recent attack on nuclear facilities in the Gulf, warning that further escalation could threaten regional and global security. While International Atomic Energy Agency warned that a direct hit on the UAE's nuclear power plant could result in a very high release of radioactivity.
A hit that disabled the lines supplying electrical power to the plant could increase the likelihood of its reactors' cores melting, which could result in a high release of radioactivity.
For now, diplomacy continues behind closed doors, with Pakistan mediating talks between Tehran and Washington. But with both sides exchanging threats almost daily, ceasefire remains fragile and the region continues to be on edge. Ravindra Chauhan's report for DD India.
But for now, the latest development is that after Donald Trump said that the US is in the final stages of negotiations aimed at ending this fighting, global oil prices have fallen more than 5%. On Wednesday, Brent North Sea crude has come down to $105.47 a barrel. And at the same time, US Treasury yields have also fallen, and they had climbed to 19-year highs of 5.18% just on Tuesday. Now they're down to 5.12%. This is the US 30-year Treasury bond. Now, 2 people were killed and 19 others injured in Russia's attacks on Ukraine overnight on Wednesday, while Ukraine sent drones to strike industrial areas in central Russia. In Ukraine, 2 people were killed and 6 injured after Russia hit the southeastern city of Dnipro with missiles, drones and artillery. Another 13 injuries were reported in the northern Sumy region and the southeastern region of Zaporizhia, including 3 children. Meanwhile, Russia and Ukraine denied deliberately targeting civilians. The World Health Organization's chief and other officials have addressed a press conference in Geneva on Wednesday on the Ebola outbreak in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, including investigations into its origin and ongoing vaccine research. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus has said that 600 suspected Ebola cases and 139 deaths have been reported so far, with numbers expected to rise as the virus spreads before detection.
Beyond the confirmed cases, there are almost 600 suspected cases and 139 suspected deaths. We expect those numbers to keep increasing, given the amount of time the virus was circulating before the outbreak was detected.
WHO experts also said they suspected the Ebola outbreak in Congo and Uganda likely started a couple of months ago, and investigations were ongoing to identify the start of the chain of transmission.
As soon as WHO was aware of the signal, support was provided to DRC to investigate as quickly as possible. And this ended up with the confirmation late last week. Investigations are ongoing to ascertain when and where exactly this outbreak started. Given the scale, we are thinking that it has started probably a couple of months ago, but investigations are ongoing, and our priority is really to cut the transmission chain by implementing contact tracing, isolating, and caring for all suspect and confirmed cases.
The European Union has moved closer to ending a long-running tariff dispute with the United States after reaching a key trade agreement. The EU reached a deal to implement its side of a trade pact signed with the US on Wednesday, marking a major step towards easing transatlantic tariff tensions with President Donald Trump's administration. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz said the agreement would bring security and stability for European businesses as the bloc moved to meet the 4th of July deadline set under last year's pact that fixed tariffs on most European goods at 15% in exchange for reducing levies on US imports.
Wir haben über die gegenwärtige Lage im
We discussed the current situation regarding trade policy at length, and both of us expressed the hope that we will be able to reach an agreement on tariffs with the United States of America as soon as possible. We must now wait and see how the negotiations between Europe and the administration in Washington proceed. But we both hope that we can resolve this conflict as quickly as possible.
Now, a planned strike by workers at Samsung Electronics has been put on hold after fresh negotiations resumed between the company and its union with the involvement of South Korea's Labour Minister. The union had earlier announced that more than 50,000 workers would begin an 18-day strike from Thursday after talks over wages and bonuses collapsed. However, late Wednesday, the union said the strike would be postponed until further notice as both the sides reached a tentative wage agreement. Union members are now expected to vote on the proposed deal between the 23rd of this month and the 28th. South Korea's Labour Minister welcomed the breakthrough, while Samsung management apologized for the disruption caused by the dispute. The standoff had raised concerns over possible disruption to semiconductor production, a key pillar of South Korea's economy. And still to come on DD India Newshour. We'll be speaking with our expert guests about the elevation of India-Italy relations to a special strategic partnership with 15 outcomes of the Modi-Meloni meet in Rome. India and South Korea signed agreements for cooperation in defense, cyber training and UN peacekeeping domains. And we also bring you all the updates from the ongoing Cannes Film Festival. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, India's Ministry of External Affairs has briefed the media on Prime Minister Modi's engagements in Italy. Secretary West in the MEA, Modi Giorgia, said both the countries have decided to elevate their ties to a special strategic partnership and enhance cooperation in areas of trade, investment and new technologies.
The two leaders welcomed the strong momentum in bilateral relations and agreed to deepen cooperation across a wide array of sectors, including in trade and investment, defense and security, science and technology, research and innovation, space, energy, AI and critical technologies, education, culture and people-to-people ties. The two leaders also discussed the pressing global challenges, including situation in West Asia and the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In a demonstration of deep trust and strength that prevails in our bilateral partnership, the two leaders decided to elevate the India-Italy strategic partnership to the level of special strategic partnership.
Now, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Italy has drawn appreciation from leading Indian industrialists. Anand Goenka, Vice Chairperson of RPG Enterprises, commended Prime Minister Modi for strengthening global partnerships at a time when international relations are becoming increasingly fragmented, and pointed to the strong complementarity between India and Italy. Jay Shroff, chairperson and group CEO of UPL Group, highlighted the Prime Minister's efforts to boost India's trade balance through deeper engagement with Europe. Hitesh Doshi, chairperson of Vari Group, stressed the vast potential for bilateral cooperation in green hydrogen and green security, referencing India's impressive solar energy achievements.
In a world where relationships are getting fragmented, our Honourable Prime Minister is strengthening relationships with different countries. This is coming at the prequel of India-EU FTA, and therefore these visits are all the more important. There is also a lot of complementarity between Italy's strengths and India's strengths.
Prime Minister is really working to improve India's balance sheet by improving the trade relations with Europe and with other countries. I think his single-minded focus over there is really showing up, because you could see the warmth in which we were received as a business delegation, and the warmth in which the whole Italian delegation was hosting us today. It was it was a pleasure to see the kind of relationship and the opportunities which were explained. I think there is a complete open relationship. There is a relationship of partnership you could sense between India and Italy.
The energy security is the need of the today, and our country in India, we are working towards. We have seen the massive solar installations going on and various schemes. At the same time, Italy also needs this. The technologies and the mass production, engineering, innovation, and the Indian capabilities. If they both come together, both the countries can work on a green hydrogen. The technologies are there, which is a direct replacement to the many applications of oil, batteries, and the solar.
So let's talk about these elevated India-Italy ties. We have with us Sanjay Kumar Verma. He's a former senior diplomat, and among his various diplomatic responsibilities through his long career, he was also the Consul General of India in Milan, Italy. Good evening to you, Ambassador Verma. And what do you make of the kind of, well, not just steps that India and Italy have taken today in particular to enhance their relations, but the manner in which it has been done as well, with a lot of warmth, trust, and a very positive outlook despite so many challenges that the world faces towards the future?
You know, between any two countries, the relationship starts with the relationship between the two leaders. And as far as India and Italy are concerned, that is very much in place. Both the prime ministers like each other. Both the prime ministers are ready to discuss tough issues, real issues, and resolve issues which would be impacting the world. So if you look at the discussions on IMEC, which is impacting the world, but at the same time, if you look at the creative industry in Italy, trying to collaborate with India, SMEs in Italy, trying to collaborate with India, automotive industry, green energy. So if you look the entire domain, including the defense industry, which is at a very advanced level in Italy, India and Italy with better relationship would tend to gain a lot from each other. The Indian market will be a big gain for Italy. The Italian technologies and creative industry will be a big gain for India.
And in terms of how they have moved ahead, not just in terms of the special strategic partnership now that they have forged into the areas which the outcomes reflect, be it critical minerals or furthering the defense partnership that has already existed for quite some time, but looking at technology transfer perhaps, as well as at perhaps joint ventures where India's defense industrial parks also come into play, or corridors rather. Do you think that there is a lot more that these countries are ready to do and will be doing with that goal of taking trade to $23 billion US, 20 billion euros by 2029, which is not too far off?
That's highly possible. And, you know, India-Italy trade relationship will be riding on the overall India-EU trade relationship and investment relationship. So therefore, whatever is added by Italy will be an addition to already existing India-EU trade and economic relations. If you look at Italy, the way in which it has developed itself as cluster technology, so if you look at GEMS cluster, if you look at leather cluster, if you look at precision industry cluster, if you look at the automotive cluster. So all these clusters were created which had been recognized by the world as way to move forward. So cluster technology transfer, the cluster process transfer will certainly help us in upping our ante and moving ahead. At the same time, the Italian technologies, the Italian investment will find a very welcoming Indian market here. One thing which we miss out very often is that Italy hosts the second largest Indian diaspora in Europe. And they are strength for India-Italy relations. They are a strength in technology. They are a strength in financial management. And therefore, we should also try to elevate it to the next higher level.
Right. So there's a joint declaration as well where they've talked about a number of things and also taken note of how there is the MOU on maritime transport and ports, which sort of is perhaps an enabling pact that could really ensure that the commitment to the IMEC, which is the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, keeps going forward despite the kind of challenges that it faces right now due to the situation in West Asia. And although I'm speaking of the situation as a challenge, but there are indications even today, Donald Trump saying that we're close to a deal and oil prices plunging 5% just half an hour to an hour ago.
Connectivity plays such a huge role in international relations. And the more options of connectivity, the better the relationship would be. There will be more options to the countries, exporting, importing the goods, mobility of people. And there Italy comes a very important factor in India's overall connectivity projects in Europe as well as in the Middle East. So IMEC, as you mentioned, is one of them. And Italy seems to be fully committed to IMEC, which is initially an Indian initiative.
And the joint declaration also talks about establishing a foreign ministers-led mechanism to review not only the India-Italy Joint Strategic Action Plan 2025-29, but also provide strategic guidance to India-Italy Special Strategic Partnership, which has been the feature, the highlighted feature of the interaction this time around, the bilateral meet this time around. Do you feel that this is also going to be very, very constructive in taking the relationship forward?
Absolutely. See, at the moment, the announcement has been done that we are elevating our relationship to the special strategic partnership. But it needs to be fleshed out much more in order to find a good implementational practice. And there, the two foreign ministers-led committees would do wonders. They will be able to identify the areas where the special strategic partnership should move. They should be able to identify the sectors where the economic relationship can further improve. They should be able to identify ways to enhance and secure the mobility of people in either directions, finance, investment, technology transfer, defense technologies, in which Italy is very well known in the world. So all these things will have to be taken together. But more important is that the two foreign minister-led committees will be able to flesh it out, find the implementational tools in order to reach the objective which the two prime ministers have talked about.
And they've also talked about making an effort to get or make a stronger institutional mechanism with a high-level military structured dialogue as well, trying to establish that to take defense cooperation forward. Apart from that, a dialogue in maritime security as well. So do you feel that it's moving in the direction where India and Italy will enhance their defense partnership with a view to how India wants to basically increase self-reliance in defense and also emerge as a major global exporter of defense equipment and armaments?
In the defense sector, there are two layers on which things are working. One was that at some point of time in the past, the trust between the two countries was broken. So that trust needs to be reinstated. And that is a very important factor, particularly in the sensitive industries like defense. Once that is completely sewed in, then one should be able to look at joint production, joint technologies, joint technology transfers, joint innovations, all these clusters will need to be formulated. Italy at the moment has an edge in the defense technology over India, but at the same time, India being the second largest importer of defense products in the world, will certainly gain from Italian technologies in forwarding its agenda of highlighting the exports of defense products, defense technologies from India all over the world for keeping peace and not making wars.
And their cooperation on science and technology, innovation, startups and artificial intelligence also, it seems to be shaping up quite well, since also they have a similar perspective on how these front-end technologies should not be completely unfettered as well.
Absolutely. And in any defense technology, something known as EULA, End Users License Agreement, that is the most complex document which can be negotiated. And I'm sure since India and Italy have already done defense products, exports and imports, so they already have the principles in place. But for each product, the EULA will have to be discussed, will have to be sealed, so that nothing is unfettered and everything is under control, under the sovereign control of the two countries which they transact between themselves. But let's also look at Italy being an entrepôt for Europe. After all, India has such a burgeoning relationship with Europe, which is only going to become larger. Italy, being a very large European Union country, will be very impactful as far as India's defense products are concerned, moving on to Europe.
Yes, certainly. And if you expand to beyond Italy, which was the last port of call for Prime Minister Modi, and look at all the European nations that he's visited, one data point that emerged was a promised investment of $40 billion coming in the next few years from all these countries as well. So things looking very promising where India-Europe ties and their growth and future is concerned. Thank you so much for joining us, Ambassador Kumar, to talk about it. Now, President of Cyprus, Nikos Christodoulidis, arrived in India on Wednesday on a 4-day state visit aimed at deepening bilateral cooperation across key sectors. President Christodoulidis is being accompanied by a high-level delegation and senior officials as well as business leaders. This is the first visit of President Christodoulidis to India in his current capacity. Now, during the visit, Prime Minister Modi and the Cypriot President will hold discussions on further strengthening bilateral cooperation in various areas of mutual interest, including trade, investment, technology, education, culture, mobility, defense and security, among others. The visiting president will meet President Draupadi Murmu as well, who will also host an official banquet in the honor of the visiting dignitary. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh is on an official visit to South Korea to strengthen defence cooperation and strategic partnership. The minister paid homage to the brave soldiers at the National Cemetery of Korea and met his South Korean counterpart, An Gyu-bak, in Seoul to exchange agreements on promoting defence cyber cooperation. He further met South Korean Minister for Defence Acquisition Program Administration, Lee Yong-chul, and agreed to harness the symbiotic efforts to create avenues for joint development, joint production and joint exports. The Defence Minister also interacted with the Indian community in Seoul, where he emphasized the growing strength of Indian diaspora and the special strategic partnership.
हमारी सरकार के विकास के मॉडल को आज अर्थशास्त्री न्यू वेलफेयरिज्म यानी कल्याणकारी राजनीति का एक नया मॉडल कह रहे हैं, जिससे लोगों का जीवन बेहतर हो रहा है। 12 वर्ष पहले जब नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने भारत के प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में जब शपथ ली थी, तो साथियों शायद ही किसी ने कल्पना की होगी कि आने वाला डिकेड भारत के इतिहास में एक ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव डिकेड होगा। 12 वर्षों के अंदर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हुआ है। उस आधार पर हमारे देश की जनता को भी पक्का यह विश्वास हो गया है कि भारत दुनिया के कुछ देशों की तरह अब डेवलप्ड नेशन बनकर रहेगा, विकसित भारत बनकर रहेगा। दुनिया की कोई ताकत अब भारत को रोक नहीं सकती।
Rajnath Singh also chaired the India-Republic of Korea Defence Industry Business Roundtable in Seoul, along with Lee Yong-chul. He expressed delight at the enthusiasm shown by Korean and Indian companies to jointly play a pivotal role in the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, which is Self-Reliant India initiative. North and central India remain firmly in the grip of an intense heat wave, with temperatures crossing 45 degrees Celsius in several cities. The Indian Met Department has issued a fresh warning of severe heat wave conditions over the coming days. From rising health emergencies to increased pressure on daily life, the scorching summer is now becoming a matter of serious concern. Take a look.
The heat is relentless and the warning is clear. Several parts of Rajasthan, Delhi, Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh are witnessing soaring temperatures, with some regions recording nearly 47 to 48 degrees Celsius. According to the India Meteorological Department, dry northwesterly winds and clear skies are further intensifying the heat wave conditions across northwest and central India. Health experts say prolonged exposure to such extreme temperatures can lead to dehydration, heat exhaustion, and even heat stroke, especially among children, elderly citizens, and outdoor workers. Authorities have urged people to avoid direct sunlight between noon and 4 pm and to drink plenty of water, to wear light cotton clothing and stay indoors whenever possible. Across cities and towns, roads appear quieter in the afternoon hours, while demand for electricity and water continues to rise under the pressure of scorching summer spell. For now, there appears to be little relief in sight as North India braces for yet another week under a blazing sun. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
The temperature in Bada in Uttar Pradesh was a scorching 47.6 degrees Celsius for the second successive day. Now let's bring you some updates from the ongoing Cannes Film Festival in France, as DD India's Manmohan Bhattacharya caught up with Indian actor Tahasha Badusha on his film Paro, his collaboration with Indian director Karan Johar and his experience at Cannes.
Indian actor Tahasha Badusha of Hiramandi fame is here with us at the Cannes Film Festival. We are right now at the Marché du Film with the Cannes Film Market, so he's doing a lot of networking also for his films, I believe. Well, Taha, first I must congratulate, at least you tried to make a bid really for the Oscars, your film Paro. Tell us about that experience, till where did you reach and how was it overall?
We're very, very proud and lucky to have been part of such a film which touched upon subjects which are so, so hardly touched upon, like bride slavery, and Trupti, who is the producer and the actress of the film as well. And the whole team have really put in so much effort to make it reach where it's reached today. And for being in the contention list for the Oscars is such a blessing.
So will you be watching films here? And have you been watching, what is the kind of new perspective that you gain when you see mainly audio-driven cinema, which a film festival like Cannes is known for?
It definitely grounds you and makes you understand that your cinema, or the way you see the world, is a very small part of how the rest of the world sees the world and how they present the world. And when you watch such cinema, it definitely inspires me to not imitate, but be inspired by them, to use it, or to use techniques that people have used outside, or to share our cinema's brilliance to the outside world. This is, what do you call it, a melting pot of all filmmakers around the globe, and there's no better place here than to discuss film.
What about your upcoming project? I heard that you are collaborating with Karan Johar.
The show is called Nazdikiyan, and can't say much about it, but hopefully it's definitely going to touch people's heart. That's what we're aiming for, and get people to reconnect, I think, Nazdikiyan, like they say.
Thank you, Taha. It's always a pleasure to speak to here at Cannes. So that was a conversation with Taha Shah Badusha, the famous Indian actor who's now become a household name for his work in Hira Mandi, with cameraman Sanjay Jaina. This is Munmun Bhattacharya from Cannes for DD India.
Let's now quickly get you some sports with badminton, and India's Malvika Bansod as well as Ashmita Chaliha advanced to the second round of the Malaysia Masters Badminton Tournament with contrasting wins in Kuala Lumpur earlier on Wednesday. Malvika, who is on a comeback trail after recovering from an injury, fought back strongly to beat Germany's Von Lee, while Ashmita registered a comfortable victory over Indonesia's Thalita Wirjawan. Malvika will face Denmark's Lena Højmark Hersfeldt, while Ashmita takes on Malaysia's Go Jinwei next. India also suffered a string of early exits across categories. In the men's singles, Lakshya Sen crashed out after a shock 17-21, 11-21 defeat. HS Pranoy too bowed out after a marathon battle against Japan's Kodai Naraoka, losing 17-21, 22-20 and 22-24. Kiran George retired while trailing 15-21, 1-6 against France's Alex Lanier. And that's all we have for this edition of DD India Newshour. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Newshour.